Good day, good people. My name is Brad King, and you are watching and listening to the Downtown Writers Jam video podcast, which is part of the Solid Listen podcast network. Max the dog and I are coming to you from deep inside the jam bunker, although Max the dog is actually coming to you from upstairs in my bedroom because he's decided to sleep all day. We're super excited for today's program. Louise Mumford is here. Her book, Sleepless, is out now. It's a speculative thriller inspired by her own experiences with insomnia, which is horrifying. Like that night, like that shit scares me. Came out in December of 2020. It reached the Kindle store. It was in the top 50 for thrillers, which is amazing. And as a debut book, it's been optioned for television, which is awesome and unprecedented. She was discovered at a literary festival in 2019. So literally like discovered in 2019, 2020, the book comes out, option for TV. It's a great story. She lives in Cardiff with her husband and spends her time trying to get all of the marvelous and scary things that are in her head down on paper. So that's what's coming today. We had a lovely chat, and she is one of those people who, like me, was a teacher and realized like, oh, it's really hard to write when you're a teacher, because even though you get the summer off, like, do you get the summer off? Plus, there's no writing that happens during the school year because you're just fucking exhausted. So we just had a long, lovely conversation about that and sort of the journey as she was teaching and writing and putting stuff together and like how it all happened. So very exciting. I can't wait for you to hear it. She's lovely. But before we get to all that, got a little bit of business. So as you know, the video podcasts come out every Monday and Friday, and the jam comes out on Wednesday. So I'm going to tell you a couple things about that. First, we need your help. Two things you can do for us. First, tell your friends about us. That is one of the best and easiest ways we can spread the word. Second thing you can do is leave us a review. Now, if you use an Apple, if you use an iPhone, clearly I don't, as I was like, the thing. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, and you can leave us a written review and a star review. That's super helpful and super important for us. If you don't, head on over to the Writers Jam on Facebook, and you can leave us a review there as well. It's sort of a weird, clunky thing, but there's a review button, and you can leave us one. Those things help us get us discovered. Most important thing you can do. You can also head on over to the Writers Jam, our website, and leave us a review through the contact page. Now, while you're there, I told you we have these video podcasts. So you can catch the video podcast there or on the Solid Listen Network YouTube channel. You can also, if you're like, hey, I'm thinking I need a book to read, because why else would you be listening to literary podcasts? We have book reviews up on the site for people whose books we've had on the show. And then you can just click on that little bookshop link, and it will take you right to a local and independent bookstore, and that supports them. All of that is way too much. Just sign up for the monthly newsletter, and all of this stuff will show up in your email box once a month. We're not selling your list or doing any of that crazy shit. So all you'll get is book stuff. The last thing you can do is support everybody on the Solid Listen Podcast Network. Click on that Patreon button, and for just a couple bucks a month, you support all of our shows. You'll get commercial-free episodes, and you'll get bonus content from everybody. So that's sort of what we got going on. I don't want to belabor the point just because Louise is it was such a fantastic conversation. And we talked technology and teaching, which are two of my favorite sort of pastimey things to talk about. And so I think you're really going to enjoy this. So I'm going to let us get right to that. So thank you for stopping by the bunker and spending a little time with Max and I. Today is a good day for him. We have good day, bad day now with the cancer stuff. Today is a good day, even though he's sleeping. I hope that your day is also a good day. I hope you're taking care of yourself, and I hope you're taking care of each other. Get the vaccination, wear your mask. Let's get all this crazy shit over with so we can get back to the world. But until we get back to the world, I hope you will take the next 30 minutes and sit back and enjoy my conversation with Louise Mumford.
No. I gave up teaching a couple of years ago now. So I taught for 15 years.
Oh my God. What do you teach?
English literature and English language.
What grade?
11 to 16-year-olds. So the hormonal years.
Yeah. I taught middle school here for a couple of years.
And what's middle school? Remind me.
It's 7th and 8th grade. So it's like 11 to 13, 12 to 14, like
Yeah, similar age then. I really liked it. They're great fun. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, that's my favorite age. Like I've told people every year that I've taught eighth graders, that like 13, 14-year-old kid is they're young enough that they're still kids. They still, you can scare them, but they're smart enough that they can do really cool stuff. And it's like the beginning of that for them.
Yeah. And most importantly for me, they understand sarcasm.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's their native language.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't always shower as much as they should, but like they figure that out as they go.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, good to have a big window in your classroom.
Yeah, the one thing that they did not teach us in as I was training to be a teacher was that like how to have the conversation. Like, I mean, you need to put the soap on you.
Yeah.
Like, like this will be, just trust me, like this will be okay. So you're out in Wales now, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, in the UK.
How is it there?
It's well, currently we've had a little bit of okay weather, and we did have a heat wave a couple of weeks ago, which throws everybody in Wales because we're not really used to, well, in the UK as well, we're not really used to heat in any way.
All of Europe. I mean, all of Europe, a heat wave is very confusing.
Yes, it is very confusing. We're not used to that at all. Give us rain and just slightly damp, and we can work pretty well with that, but nothing else. But yeah, I've always lived in Wales. I grew up in Wales and I still live there now. So it's just a lovely, well, I think it's quite a lovely capital city actually, because it's still small enough as a city. But it is a city, but it's small enough to feel like you can walk around it really easily, and you just know everywhere. And
yeah, where I live is very similar to that. Like we are often, Pittsburgh is often called, it was the last few years it's been voted like best big small city, right? Like I always tell people we have all of the stuff, professional sports, ballet, opera, like all of the things, and you can park and it's cheap. Like people can afford a house. I'm like, that's, to me, that is key to happiness.
Yeah. Have you always lived in Pittsburgh?
No, I've lived all over the place, but this is the place that I lived in really expensive places like San Francisco, Boston, like places where people like me don't own anything.
I know. We went to San Francisco just before the pandemic, actually. We loved it, but it was incredibly expensive. Yeah.
Oh my God. And I was there 20 years ago, right as it was sort of happening. I was at Wired when it was happening. And there's a Golden Gate Bridge that you have to pay to go across, in the Bay Area Bridge. And I think I paid like $3. And my friends laughed. They're like, oh, it's like $8.50 now. And I'm like, I can't even imagine paying $8.50 every day to go to work.
I know.
Like, I'm gonna need that put into my paycheck just because that's annoying. What took you to San Francisco?
Oh, we just like to travel, me and my husband. So it was one of the places that I wanted to do. We did a motorhome kind of little holiday. So we went around the national parks. We started off in San Francisco and ended in San Francisco. So we did that kind of loop. Which was amazing. I don't think I'm a natural campervan kind of person.
It takes a certain kind of person.
Yeah. Well, you should say, we had like the little rental one, obviously, which is, it was big, but it wasn't massive. But when we used to drive up, you'd see like the kind of hardened campervan people, and their campervans, they park them and they would just extend. The sides would come out and the top comes out, and they've got this massive TV that suddenly attaches to the side. We felt very underpowered at that point.
I grew up, we started in tents, and then we got a thing called a pop-up, which is this little tiny thing, and you sort of crank it open. And then my parents eventually spent 2 years, they sold all their stuff and spent 2 years like going around the country.
Yeah, brilliant.
Like in one of those big giant ones with a giant ass Jeep, and like, so I've done all of those things throughout my life.
It was great. Really enjoyed it. It was a brilliant holiday, but we rocked up on the first night, and it had taken us much longer to drive to our first campsite than we thought. So we didn't get any food on the way. We thought we'll just get it on the way in. We were too late to buy food, so all we had was a tiny little bit of bottled water left and some granola. We didn't even have any milk to go on the granola. We just had that for the rest of the night. And then in the morning we thought, well, we'll go and get some food. not quite sure of the area. We turned up and we were parked outside what we discovered wasn't a supermarket. It was like a discount booze store. So we just looked as if we'd rocked up really early to get in all our booze, obviously, for the holidays. Like, no, we just wanted some food.
That's funny. I've had several friends. I got lots of friends in Europe, and they've come over and spent, substantial time, and we'll go driving. And they're like, where are we? I'm like, oh no, we're still in the same state, and they're like, we'd be 3 countries away by now. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how America really works.
Yeah, we discovered that. We discovered to add on a good 2 hours to whatever we thought it was going to take. It was going to take a good 2 hours more.
Yeah, if you ever want to blow your mind, drive across Texas east to west, because that's like 15 hours and you're still in the same state.
Oh my
I'm like, you'd already be, out of the Eastern Bloc at that point. So did you stop teaching? Like, have you been writing forever? Like, how did the teaching and the writing thing happen? Because this is, every parent's always like, well, you should have something to fall back on. So teach, and you're like, that's not how writing and teaching works at all.
No. I've discovered it's very hard to write while you're teaching, because you are just shattered at the end of the day, basically. So you don't really have much creative energy left. All your creative energy goes into preparing your lessons and helping the kids out with their work, and then you're very, very tired in the evening. So I did write a couple of books while I was teaching, but it wasn't the book that I got published. I think once I kind of made the decision that I wanted to actually pursue this career that I'd always said I'd wanted to do and wasn't actually doing, I was nearing turning 40 as well. So I thought, well, I'll just, take a year and see if anything comes of it. So I wrote the book that got published, I wrote then.
So you have some books you got some books in the old drawer, huh?
Yeah, I'm not saying they're any good, but they're definitely there.
Well, it's, I always say on the program, like, I've been doing this for years and years and years, like, everybody's first book is their 5th book. Like, whether you've rewritten this book 5 times or whether you have written other books that are just never going to go anywhere, like, your first published book ain't even close to your first book.
And if somebody says this is the first book I've ever written, I'm going to send it off to agents. Just like, no, don't do it yet. Wait.
You've got some rewriting to do, because you're going to rewrite it. You're just going to, like, it's just a really hard. So you quit and said, I'm going to do a year and just like do it. Like, how terrifying was that?
Well, it was quite terrifying. So being a teacher, you're kind of quite used to doing terrifying things, and kind of just, you turn up, don't you? And sometimes you're not quite sure what all your lessons are going to be that day.
Oh, all the time. That's what teaching is. Yeah.
But you kind of wing it and you hope that it all works out for the best, and it always does. And it kind of the same with writing. I knew that I had to focus on it rather than being split in 2 ways. It just wasn't really working, being split in 2 ways. So it was absolutely petrifying, and I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't have got a publishing contract. If it was like this time now without the publishing contract, I probably would have gone back to teaching, I think, because I've always earned a wage, and I've always wanted, and I've always paid my own way, and I think I would have wanted to have gone back to having that kind of security.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. Like, I know, as I was a professional writer, and then I went into teaching and some other stuff. Like, I tell people, like, I need like 4 hours every day dedicated to be able to sit down and write. Like, I can't do that like 30-minute thing that I hear so many like parents, they're like, oh, my kid was at soccer practice and I wrote on my phone. I'm like, that is not how my brain works.
Yeah, I know. It's called the Pomodoro Technique. Yes.
I have that on my phone. Yeah.
And you're meant to just focus madly I have tried it a couple of times as well. And it depends on how you catch me. But if you catch me on a day when I'm not really concentrating, I just end up doing nothing for 25 minutes. Yeah. It's just, my brain just goes, well, we have nothing. Well, I have nothing to give you.
Yeah. And like being like, getting myself still when I know there's other shit coming down the pike. Like, my body is like, but and this other thing, right? So that's
the brilliant thing about writing. Everybody does it in different ways.
It's why I don't do a show about the writing process, because I always tell people who aren't writers, I'm like, here's the process. It fucking sucks. Like nobody likes it. I know almost no writers who are like, oh, I look forward to the blank page and I can't wait to edit this 9 times. You know, like it's why everybody's house is clean and their laundry's done.
Yes, my house is very clean and the laundry is always done. Yeah.
When I was teaching college, I would tell kids, like, I could tell how clean your apartment is by reading what you've written. Because I can tell, like, oh, you've just put this together at the end because you were procrastinating because you couldn't do it. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, you'll see. You know, like, you'll see. So tell me about the book, because it's also like, not only did you quit and like take a year to do this, but then like it's a little bit of a non-traditional play. Like, you like, how did you get discovered? Like, how did the book, did you agent it? Like, how did it happen?
I did try to get I tried to do the traditional route of getting the agent first, which is what you're meant to do. You're meant to, unless you want to self-publish or, you know, go to an indie press, and there are brilliant self-published authors, there are brilliant indie presses, but I wanted to do the kind of traditional route. So I got rejected lots and lots.
Also a very common story.
So many times, so many times. And I went to a literary festival in Suffolk in the UK, and it was set up by this group of influential women who wanted to try and create a slightly different literary festival, which was as inclusive and as friendly as possible. And I got talking, I was in a one-to-one with the executive publisher of HQ, which is the publishing imprint that I'm with HarperCollins. And it was kind of that dream moment where she said, oh yeah, well, I'm interested in your first three chapters, and, you know, can you send me the rest of your work? So I do say, though, that it is like you're in the right place at the right times. There was an element of luck, but you also have to be prepared for that luck. Well, if I hadn't have had anything on me, then I couldn't have given it to her. You know, if I hadn't have had it printed out and, you know, could just talk about it. If I didn't know in my head what my elevator pitch was, and I said it, you know, straight away, again, you lose that opportunity. So always be prepared for opportunity.
Well, and, you know, as I've been doing this professionally for 20 something years, and you know, you talk to enough agents and like they get so many things that are not professional, like that people that don't treat, like, and I'm not talking about like gatekeeper stuff. I just mean like they don't treat them like, they don't treat their own work like a professional thing, and they don't treat the agent like a professional. And I tell folks, you will get so far, even if your first book or your second book doesn't. I've been rejected by people who have then said, well, send me your stuff. Like, this is like, if this doesn't work, but like, you seem to know what you're doing. And you're not an ass. And like that gets you so far in this business.
Not being an arse, as we'd say in the UK, not being an arse gets you a very long way, I think. I think to be somebody who is reliable and you hand your work in on time and you're pleasant to work with, that, you know, you're a sane, sensible person. I think, as with all professions, everybody likes to work with people like that.
But, you know, in the writing world, like there is this this mythology of like the drunk, like blah, whatever. And I think some people take that too seriously. And it's like, no, book publishers are businesses, man. Like they want you, like, you don't have to look or sound or whatever, like, but like, do show up. You know, like if they reject your work, don't tell them they're stupid.
No, exactly. You'd be surprised how
I would not be surprised.
So kind of worked up about it. It's like, don't send anything back to anyone.
I always thank people, like when they reject me, I thank them. I'm like, look, saying no is never fun. I appreciate you taking the time. Like, I hope you have a good day. Like,
and it is a business, and it might be because your work, they've just had something very similar. You don't know what the reason is. It's not because you're often it's not because you're a terrible writer and, you know, you should do something else. It's, you know, there's lots of different market forces at work.
So you settled into that and you got it, you sent it off, and they were like, yeah, let's do this.
Yes, so then I got the publishing contract, and at that point I still didn't have an agent, because remember, all the agents had rejected me many times. But then I did find my lovely agent, who's called Kate, and we've worked together now on the second contract. So I was very clear that I wanted an agent, because as lovely as my publishing house are, and they are amazing, they're only with you for however many books you put out with them. Whereas an agent is, hopefully, if you get the right agent, they're with you for your whole career. And that's really, it was important to me that I wanted to build a career.
That is really smart because people don't understand, like, a good agent isn't just somebody that's selling your book. It's somebody that's helping you navigate the business of writing.
Yeah.
Which
And
is,
also what kind of writer you want to be as well.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's the business of writing. Like,
Yeah.
like who you are is your brand. And
Yeah.
you need people that understand. You don't need them, but it is helpful to have people in that world who you trust and all that. Like, that's really great. So you went about this like sort of like through the side door, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I did it backwards.
So tell me a little bit about the book.
So the book is about, so I have trouble sleeping. I've always had trouble sleeping. So I'm a bit of an
The whole
insomniac.
world does these days.
And everybody now I say it, people go, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, you
Like
now have a market of 8 billion people.
Trouble sleeping. I don't know. I don't have any trouble sleeping. But now I think because of the pandemic, everybody understands that kind of difficulty of drifting off.
Yeah.
So my book is about a desperate insomniac called Thea, and she jumps at the chance to take part in a sleep technology trial on a deserted island. But she comes to discover that the trial doesn't just want to help her sleep, it wants to control her sleep. So it's a little bit like, I don't know if you have Black Mirror.
Of course we do. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit like that, and a little bit like John Mars, who's he just did The One on Netflix as well. So it's a little bit futuristic, but it's kind of, it's not scary futuristic. It's a world that you recognize as just, you know, got a piece of technology in it.
Like dystopian kind of stuff?
A little bit, but it's not, the world hasn't fallen apart. The world is still, it's not that like dystopias and everything's gone to hell. It's probably
shiny dystopia
before everything goes to hell.
Yeah. It's on the edge of the cliff.
On the edge of the cliff.
Everything's fine. Very much like climate in the world. Like, yeah, sure, it's fine. Like, is it though?
Yeah, exactly. I was really interested in how much power these technology companies have over governments, as well as just our attention spans. You know, they move so quickly, and the technology becomes embedded in people's lives, and then governments are desperately scrambling to keep up. So I mean, we saw that in the kind of Brexit campaign, how social media was used. Yeah.
I mean, I was at Wired from 97, 98 to like 2003. So like I was literally writing about the beginnings of at least the sort of modern web version of the technology stuff. And
the internet superhighway, as it was referred to in my Media Studies textbooks.
And like, you know, there's been a reckoning of a lot of us writers back then, because we were very much we believed that this was going to democratize things. And the sort of joke now is like, oh shit, this democratized things. Like that's really good, but also Nazis and like shit. And the technology does move faster than regulations, and even people who aren't embedded in it don't understand. And even some of us that were embedded, like I think we have a better idea of it now, but it really does move fast, and the world changes that.
The people who run the companies, they are thinking, you know, a good 10 years ahead already. They're already thinking how what they're bringing out now will shape the world in, you know, 5-10 years.
Only they're not thinking about the world. They're thinking about how the business can do better.
It's all about profit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's both a timely thing with the not sleeping, because I sort of think the not sleeping is like half coronavirus and like half Trump and Boris Johnson. Like the Western world was just like, oh shit, the West just left. And I feel like those two things, everybody's like, well, I can never sleep because I don't know now what's happening on a minute-to-minute basis.
Because obviously when I was younger, in my 20s, and I was an insomniac, you didn't have your phone and all of the stuff to amuse you at that. You know, you just read a book, or you could watch TV. We did have TV in those days, but you know, you didn't have everything else. The society is so uniquely designed, to terrorize us now, because we know every awful thing that is happening
the second it happens, with pictures and video.
Uncensored pictures and video that you just see. And then it's uniquely designed to keep us awake with all the entertainment stuff as well. So we're just in a perfect storm, really.
I mean, it's a timely topic and book that you're covering. And I suspect lots of people will look at that and it'll resonate with them. Like, I'll just leave with this. Like, I don't know if it was like this in Wales, but in America, like the TV networks went off the air at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, there was just no more TV. Like, for like 5 hours, there was just nothing on. Like, the idea of that right now, like, can you imagine? It's like, hey, everybody, all this other stuff is going away. Like, the world would be like, we're uncomfortable not knowing everything.
It used to be, I think it used to be about midnight. It would just, the TV would switch off and you'd have a test card and you wouldn't be able to do anything. It's like, no, the world is shut down now. That's it.
They would play, I think, like the national anthem or something here, and like the flag would wave, and then that would be end, and it was just the color bar. And you're like, okay, I guess we're done.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, exactly. Can you imagine telling like the younger generation now that that's it at midnight, you're done. You have no more entertainment now, nothing. There's, because gaming wasn't a big thing then. Right. You probably did have handheld consoles, didn't you? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, we had like in television and Atari, like you could hook a system up to your TV, but you could do, that's what you did, or you read a book, or like you went outside, or you
talked to someone,
hung out, did whatever. Well, it was lovely talking to you. I can't wait. This book sounds like it's right up my alley of all the things that I do in my life, so I'm very excited to pick up a copy. And it's out everywhere.
It is out everywhere. It is out via Amazon, obviously. Of course it is. In the UK, it is also available via lots of nice little independent bookshops as well.
Is it on bookshop.org?
It is, yes. It is also on bookshop.org as well.
So we can also do that and find all the bookshops there too. Well, this has been lovely. You are delightful. I can't wait to pick up the book, and thank you for spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you. It's been really good fun. Thanks for having me.
Well, that was Louise Mumford, whose book Sleepless is out right now. You should go pick that up. She's fantastic. It's such a lovely conversation. Loved having her on the program. Before we get out of here, do us a couple favors, the two that we talked about at the top of the program. If you like what you heard, leave us a review. If you use Apple, if you have an iPhone, best thing to do is go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a written review and a starred review. Otherwise, you can head over to the Writers Jam on Facebook, and you can leave us a review there. And also, tell your friends about us. While you're at it, don't forget to check out all the other programs on the Solid Listen Podcast Network, including the flagship Mother May I Sleep With podcast with host and our Solid Listen Podcast queen, Molly McLear. Don't forget, the video podcasts come out every Monday and Friday. You can catch those on the Solid Listen Network YouTube channel, or you can catch the audio wherever you listen to podcasts. Speaking of that, the Jam comes out every Wednesday. So get yourself subscribed and never miss anything that we're doing. And remember, you can always catch us on Twitter and Instagram. Until the next time, I will see you around the internet.